So a lot of people ask me about discovery, about commission breath, how not to create commission breath. Tony Robbins talks of a process called the Dickens Process, which he uses for a self-discovery process. It's about looking inward. It's about walking yourself through a process of understanding where you were, where you are today, maybe where you want to go in the future. But I've learned that it's a great way to actually create what I call a discovery conversation, which is a conversation to help the client prospect come into awareness of their lack, of what they're not getting in their life, of the possible pains they're not aware of. And I've used this process. I don't have really a name for it, but it's really kind of an opposite effect of taking the Dickens process, which is used from
A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens.
There's your Dickens process, sort of a way to help most of you out there understand how to create a good discovery conversation using the Dickens process and eliminating commission breath. It's kind of like a little bit of a scary ghost story of what commission breath can create and what you can do to really help your client get down to the pain that eventually, maybe with a select client, you can solve those problems. So before I get started, everybody kind of gather around, think of it like a Christmas story. I don't know, and it's kind of like a little bit of a culture shock. From when I was a kid, everybody read A Christmas Carol. So if you read or understood the Christmas Carol, or you go back and watch any version of it, really, I like the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Hello! Welcome to the Muppet Christmas Carol.
There are many different versions of it out there, but it starts with understanding that you have an Ebenezer Scrooge. Everybody knows who Scrooge is, and he's visited by ghosts. So if you've watched this or you read the book before, in your mind right away, answer this question as quickly as possible. How many ghosts are in the Christmas Carol? Now, if you said 3, you would be correct. But actually, there are 4. There are 4 ghosts in the Christmas Carol. Because what I've learned is that most people forget Marley, who was his partner, who came back right at the beginning of the story. And I found that most people don't remember the 4th ghost because Marley is the pure salesperson. I mean, really, the story should be over right from the beginning. Ebenezer Scrooge, who's a very evil, mean man that we were told that he was mean, but there's something behind it, which we'll get into, and that he was mean, and the name Scrooge means miser. It means somebody who's selfish with money. Over time, it's became that. But right away, he's visited by his partner who lived this very similar life, and he's the pure salesperson. He literally walks in and he sits Scrooge down and he tells him, he says, look at me. Okay, look at me. I look horrible. I'm falling apart. I have these chains. I have these locks and safes around me. And if you don't change your ways, you're going to be even worse than I. And Marley sells him on the idea that you will be worse than me. And Ebenezer doesn't buy it one bit. Not one bit. Okay, he actually tells him, you're a humbug. He tells him, you're a bad cheese. He goes, I don't know, you're bad meat. I don't know what it is. It's a horrible dream. It's not really true. Really, the whole story should be over right there. If somebody from my past came back and said, if you don't change your ways, you're going to look like me and look how horrible. I think that's just about enough. But it tells the understanding of commission breath. Marley walked in with pure commission breath. He told him the story. Remember, this is probably going to be useful for us. Telling is selling. Marley told the story. Nobody really believed him. Pretty much Ebenezer knew he was being pitched, and Marley didn't really believe it. However, in the process, in the use of where Dickens went, he knew that in order to understand how to change somebody, he used a Socratic questioning process used by the 3 other ghosts, which most people are familiar with. The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and of course, the ghost of Christmas yet to come. And the story starts out, now, if you remember these ghosts, and I take notice of this in using the discovery process that we're going to walk through, my Dickens discovery process, which is that the ghosts come, and they're somewhat, each one of them, somewhat indifferent. They really don't even care. It's just their job. They kind of just show up, and especially the ghost of Christmas past kind of comes in and says, look, I'm going to show you your past. And he's kind of indifferent to it all. He doesn't, he's fighting it at this point. But he takes us through an important part of Socratic questioning, where the ghost takes Ebenezer into his past. And it's really important for us, if especially if we're selling services or getting clients to buy services, that we understand their past. In the Socratic questioning process, it's important for them to own their past. You have nothing to do with it. They hired a bad CPA, a bad consultant, a bad alarm company. They own all those decisions they've made in the past where you believe that you have a very different approach and that you probably would eliminate all those processes or those bad decisions if they were working with you. So the ghost of Christmas past started bringing Ebenezer into his past, very stoic-like. And I want you to kind of take that approach and ask a very similar question. Ask your prospect in 2,000 words or less. Tell me about your journey through the business world that brought you through today. Now, do something very important and listen very carefully to things that don't make sense to you, something that may be what I call a pain balloon. We're going to explore those, but keep notes and follow through. Now, what we learned in the Christmas Carol by using this kind of approach is that we learned Ebenezer Scrooge really wasn't that bad or evil man at all. Just had some bad luck. His mom died. His father took exception to that, remember this in the 1800s, put his son into an orphanage or an old boys home, however you want to look at it. And he just had bad luck. And he never could put together love. And he had this sister who loved him. Unfortunately, she dies. And then he had a love of his life and he got it all mixed up. And he couldn't tell you the difference between actual love or love of money. And Belle, his love of his life, winds up leaving. So that kind of gives you a good idea of how we use discovery in learning and getting people to own their past. Then we come to the ghost of Christmas present. And if you notice, the ghost of Christmas present is very hopeful. You'll find using this process that, most clients, if you ask them how everything's going, they'll tell you things like, yeah, my business is growing. It's going real good. Somewhat skeptical, but I'll take their word for it, because the important piece of the story also evolves when we get to the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Now, let's sit here for a second. If you did see the movie or you read the book, it kind of like is a crypt keeper type looking person. Okay. And remember, the ghost of Christmas yet to come uses very little words. Matter of fact, the only points. And it's about helping your clients. You should not provide any solutions at this point. You're not ready to help them. Matter of fact, in the story, the ghost of Christmas yet to come, we're still deciding if these ghosts can help him in his future. Otherwise, he's going to wind up like Marley. So we're helping Ebenezer come into awareness and ask them some questions. In the Christmas Carol, we asked the question, okay, if you had a chance to change things, what would you do? Would you help Tiny Tim? Would you help Bob Cratchit make a couple more dollars? He's running your company anyway. And there's some other things, some people in his life that he could have helped, the people in his mortgage company, and helping them. Maybe he didn't have to foreclose on all their houses. Maybe he didn't have to send everybody to prisons or poorhouses. He could have helped them and gave them a little bit of leeway and helped them get out of their trouble. So the ghost presents these stories in a way that Ebenezer has to answer the questions. And in discovery, it's a great way to get somebody to answer the question. You should not move forward. Ask them some very difficult questions. What happens if your business doesn't survive the next 2 or 3 or 5 years? What are you going to do then? Is it okay with you that you're missing out on, 10, 20, 30,000, who knows the size of the business, 50 or 100,000 or $1 million of profit leaks? Is that okay with you? Is it okay that your business is controlling you in such a way that you can't take that dream vacation, can't get to Wally World with your family or Disney, however you want to see it? So these are important ways to use the Dickens process or the Dickens discovery process, as I come to learn, create good, solid relationships and understand who true discovery is. And let's keep it simple as we kind of close this up and we start to enjoy our holidays, but think this one through. We must take our clients from the past, they own that past Socratic, into the present, exactly what's going on today. And as we move into the future, help them understand exactly the consequences of taking action, of not taking action, and what that can do. And maybe you're going to have to point. Maybe you're going to have to get them to become aware. And I've learned that if you use this process properly, just like in the Christmas Carol, where where Scrooge actually turns to the scariest character in the story and begs for help. I don't think we're that scary, but that's kind of the point. When they actually turn, they look at us and they say, will you help me with my problems? Will you provide your solutions? Will you make that go away? So there's my story. I hope you enjoy it. You got questions, leave your comments. Feel free to reach out to me. Enjoy the holiday season and consider using this very scary ghost story of Commission Breath and create a Dickens discovery process for your next prospect or clients. I'm Bill Bayless, the Business Development Machine. Have a great holiday season.